Hi guys, happy Wednesday again, December 3rd here. So our buddy here, Rand Paul, came on Bloomberg earlier, talked about the D-boats being attacked as outrageous. So we're not going to go through his whole interview. We're actually going to just tell you exactly what he said versus what was said yesterday during the cabinet meeting and the difference. Okay, so here it is. This is what he said, and let's just go through what's going on here with our buddy Rand Paul and whiskey.
Rand Paul's core claims, what they mean legally and politically. Senator Rand Paul's comments are devastating to Trump, Hegseth, and Admiral Bradley. They make four major points. A. The second strike is illegal under U.S. military law. Paul directly cites the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ rule. Once someone is incapacitated, shipwrecked, or clinging to wreckage, they are out of combat and cannot legally be killed. This is exactly the same rule that resulted in a U.S. submarine commander being executed in 1945 for ordering fire on shipwreck survivors. Paul is not using activist language. He is using black-letter military law. This makes the Venezuela boat killings not an accident, a mistake, or combat. It makes them unlawful killings under U.S. military law. This is why Paul keeps asking, who gave the order? Why was the order given? He knows a second strike is a criminal act, not a policy choice. B. Paul says the Pentagon's shifting story is a cover-up. He points out, the Secretary of Defense claimed he didn't know about the second strike. Then he changed his story and said he stepped out of the room. Then he blamed the Admiral. Then other officials contradicted that. Paul's read, this is a shifting cover story. This matches what Trump and Hegseth said in the cabinet meeting. They started praising the Admiral and blaming Biden, then later pivoted to, we support the commanders, which is a hedge. This inconsistency is a hallmark of cover-ups after legal orders. C. Paul suggests the administration is fabricating narco-terrorist labels. This is the heart of the matter. Paul says the administration is labeling civilians as narco-terrorists so they can kill them without proof, trial, or congressional authorization. He notes, there is zero evidence these boats carried drugs. The Coast Guard said 21% of these boats previously stopped carrying no drugs at all. No guns were recovered. No proof of fentanyl. The threat is invented. This aligns with what Hegseth said in the cabinet meeting. We've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean. Hegseth, cabinet meeting. Transcript 120225. Hegseth treats every boat as a narco-terrorist boat by definition, not by evidence. This validates Paul's accusation that the narco-terrorist label is being used as a license to kill. D. Paul says this is a prelude to war and that Trump isn't controlling his cabinet. Paul warns, this is a prelude to war with Venezuela. He accuses Secretary of State Kristi Noem of wanting regime change, Hegseth of pushing to escalate, Trump of not being briefed and not controlling his people. This matches Trump's own cabinet comments, where Hegseth bragged about taking the fight to designated terror organizations in our hemisphere. He means Venezuela. Transcript 120225. Trump's repeated claims that he is rebuilding the Department of War and taking the gloves off. So Paul is basically saying, unelected cabinet members are dragging the U.S. into an undeclared war. This is politically explosive. White heavy checkmark 2, where Trump and Hegseth lied, using the transcript you provided. Below are the primary lies spoken in the cabinet meeting related to the boat attacks and Venezuela, all verifiable using the transcript cited. A. Lie number 1, we always have our commanders' backs. Hegseth repeatedly says, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions. And we have their backs. Hegseth. Transcript 120225. But Rand Paul points out, the Secretary of Defense denied knowing anything, then blamed the Admiral. Trump's people are now pinning everything on Bradley. Paul is explicitly calling this false. B. Lie number 2, drugs coming by sea are down 91%. Trump said, drugs coming in by sea are down 91%. Trump. Transcript 120225. Paul contradicts this completely. There is no proof these boats had drugs. Coast Guard data shows 21% of interdicted boats had no drugs. He suggests Trump/Hegseth fabricated the justification. So Trump's number is fictional. C. Lie number 3. These were narco-terrorists. Hegseth. We're striking narco boats, defeating narco-terrorists. Hegseth. Transcript 120225. Rand Paul. There is no evidence any fentanyl came from Venezuela. No evidence these people were armed. No evidence they were transporting drugs. Therefore, the narco-terrorist designation is a lie. D. Lie number 4. We had 0 illegal aliens for 6 months. Trump. For 6 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States. Trump. Transcript 120225. Every government agency, CBP, ICE, DHS, contradicts this. It is mathematically impossible. Paul indirectly attacks Trump's credibility when he asks, why are we doing this in Venezuela when Mexico is the real source of fentanyl? Translation, Trump isn't telling the truth about the border or the drug threat. E. Lie number 5. This is not war. This is law enforcement. Hegseth frames the boat strikes as taking the fight to designated terror organizations. Hegseth. Transcript 120225. But Paul explicitly warns, these are war actions. Congress has not authorized war. The administration is pretending it is law enforcement to avoid congressional oversight. This contradiction exposes the lie. White heavy checkmark 3. What Paul's intervention means, Congress is now against Trump and Hegseth. This is one of the most important developments of the entire Venezuela scandal. A. Rand Paul is breaking with Trump. Paul never goes against Trump unless something is very wrong. He defended Trump through 2 impeachments, January 6th, classified documents, indictments. But here, he is furious. This tells you, Paul believes a war crime occurred. Trump and Hegseth are lying. The Pentagon is hiding evidence. The administration is not in control of its own military decisions. B. Congress is now moving toward subpoenas, evidence review, and hearings. Paul says, we need the footage. We need the audio. We need the Admiral under oath. We need the Secretary of Defense under oath. Bipartisan support now exists for releasing strike videos, demanding orders logs, subpoenaing the Admiral, subpoenaing the Secretary of Defense, forcing a determination on whether this is war. This is extremely dangerous to Trump. C. Paul's final point, Admiral Bradley may have followed orders, but Trump/Hegseth are responsible. Paul puts the blame up the chain. These orders came from the Secretary of Defense. Ultimately, he must accept responsibility. Why would they order a second strike? Why accuse people without evidence? Paul is telling America, the military man is being scapegoated. The real orders came from Trump's political appointees. This aligns with the inconsistency in Trump's cabinet meeting where Hegseth tries to preemptively defend commanders. Fire final conclusion, Congress is now actively turning against Trump and Hegseth. Rand Paul's statements establish 4 major truths. 1. The second strike was illegal. This is the most important. 2. Trump, Hegseth, and the Secretary of Defense lied about what happened. The cabinet transcript confirms the lies. Transcript 120225. 3. The administration invented the narco-terrorist label to justify killings without evidence. Paul exposed this completely. 4. Congress is now mobilizing. This is no longer media drama. It is a legal and constitutional crisis. If the footage shows unarmed survivors clinging to wreckage and the order came from political leadership, this becomes unlawful killings, war crimes under UCMJ, unauthorized military action, lying to Congress, dereliction of duty, obstruction of oversight. This is why Paul is acting independently of Trump's control. He believes the administration crossed a legal red line.
There you go, guys. So Rand Paul is pissed off, and that's a good thing for us because we need somebody to be pissed off on the Republican side, on the MAGA side, and this is the beginning of the collapse, at least for this story. And if they try to actually start a war with Venezuela, that's where you're going to see other Republicans in MAGA come out as well, because they don't want that. Nobody wants that. The only people that do is Taco and his Muppets. Okay?